In 2019, two South African brothers, Reis and Amir Kaji, launched Africrypt, a cryptocurrency investment platform. Reis, the elder sibling and CEO, had been fascinated by Bitcoin since first hearing about it with his father back in 2009. As a teenager, he even mined Ethereum and built an AI-driven trading system to capitalize on the burgeoning crypto markets. Amir, 2 years younger, joined as chief operating officer. Together, the Kaji brothers styled themselves as visionary crypto entrepreneurs. The brothers claimed to have developed proprietary trading algorithms and arbitrage systems that supposedly yielded returns as high as 10% per day for their investors. In the crypto boom of 2020, many found such promises irresistible. By 2020, Africrypt boasted it managed hundreds of millions of South African rand for thousands of clients through its online platform. The young founders flaunted their success, driving a Lamborghini sports car and residing in an upscale Johannesburg hotel symbols that gave investors confidence in the operation's legitimacy. Behind the glossy social media posts, however, Africrypt operated with alarming opacity. The platform was essentially a centralized black box controlled entirely by the two brothers. There were no independent audits, no external custodians safeguarding client assets, and no regulatory oversight. Crypto assets weren't yet regulated as financial products in South Africa. Clients simply handed over their Bitcoin or cash to Africrypt, trusting in the KG's talent and integrity. Unbeknownst to them, this trust would soon be grossly betrayed. Throughout 2020 and into early 2021, Africrypt's reputation grew alongside Bitcoin's meteoric rise. The brothers reportedly promised steady profits regardless of market conditions, up to 13% returns per month thanks to their revolutionary AI-driven trading software. Investors poured in. The ongoing crypto bull run only fed the frenzy. As Bitcoin's price soared to record highs, Africrypt's reported assets under management ballooned. By April 2021, the platform held an astonishing 69,000 Bitcoins on behalf of its clients. Digital wealth worth around $4 billion at that month's peak prices. To Africrypt's clients, it seemed like a financial miracle. The Kaji brothers were lauded as prodigies who had mastered the volatile crypto markets. Yet there were red flags that many overlooked. Africrypt was unregulated and operated in a legal gray zone, with no governmental oversight. A handful of skeptics quietly questioned how two very young traders could legitimately guarantee such extraordinary returns. But these doubts were drowned out by the glowing testimonials of early investors and the brothers' own flaunted wealth. The allure of Africrypt's golden promise kept growing, until the facade abruptly came crashing down. On April 13, 2021, Africrypt's investors received a disturbing message. Amir Kaji emailed clients to announce that Africrypt had been hacked and that all client accounts, wallets, and nodes were compromised. Effective immediately, the platform was halting operations. The notice was alarming, but one detail in particular set off red flags. Amir implored clients not to contact law enforcement or regulators, claiming that involving authorities would only delay the recovery process of funds. He urged investors to quietly wait, saying any recovery would already take substantial time. This bizarre plea for silence sowed immediate suspicion among some. Within hours, panicked users found they could not withdraw funds and the Kaji brothers were unreachable. Africrypt's website went dark and phones went silent. It was as if the money and the men in charge had evaporated. Just days earlier, Bitcoin had hit an all-time high over $63,000. At that peak, Africrypt's holdings were worth nearly $4 billion. Now those assets had vanished from the company's wallets. A platform once hailed as a crypto success story imploded in a single day. Shock and confusion rippled through Africrypt's investor community. Many had entrusted their fortunes to the Kaji brothers, and in an instant, those fortunes were in limbo. In the immediate aftermath of the alleged hack, Africrypt's offices and online channels fell silent. As the reality set in that 69,000 Bitcoin were gone without a trace, distraught investors scrambled for answers. a few suspicious clients banded together and hired a law firm, Honeycomb Attorneys, to probe Africrypt's collapse. The findings that emerged deepened the mystery. Honeycomb's investigators discovered that Africrypt's own employees had lost access to the company's back-end systems a full week before the April 13th announcement. In other words, the brothers had quietly cut off staff access days in advance, a sign something was afoot well before the supposed hack. Even more damning, forensic analysis showed that Africrypt's funds were drained from client wallets and funneled through mixing services on the dark web, techniques used to obscure the trail of cryptocurrency. Huge sums were fragmented and passed through tumblers, effectively laundering the Bitcoin and making it virtually untraceable once it emerged in new addresses. This was no ordinary cyber attack. It was evidently an inside job, a meticulously planned exit scam by the Kaji brothers themselves. By the time law enforcement was alerted, it was too late. Honeycomb attorneys relayed their suspicions to authorities, and the case was referred to the Hawks, an elite police unit for organized crime. But Amir and Rais Keji had vanished, leaving thousands of investors without funds. Attempts to locate the pair through family or travel records led nowhere. It soon became clear the duo had fled South Africa as their scheme unraveled. South Africa's Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA, publicly acknowledged the Africrypt scandal and the flood of complaints from investors. However, in 2021, the FSCA's hands were tied. At that time, cryptocurrencies were not legally defined as financial products, so the regulator could not formally launch a fraud investigation. The Africrypt affair exposed a gaping regulatory gap. Authorities did move to secure a provisional liquidation of what remained of Africrypt's assets through the courts, but there was little left to seize. In effect, the Kaji brothers had slipped into the wind with an enormous sum of Bitcoin. What began as a local financial drama was now evolving into an international chase. News of Africrypt's collapse and the missing Kaji brothers quickly spread beyond South Africa's borders. By June 2021, global headlines blared that two young men had vanished with an estimated $3.6 billion in Bitcoin, in what was already being called one of the largest cryptocurrency heists ever. The brothers, once obscure crypto wunderkinds, were now internationally wanted figures. South African authorities, along with global agencies, began tracing the duo's whereabouts. It soon emerged that Rais and Amir had prepared their escape in advance. Reports surfaced that in 2020, the brothers obtained citizenship from the small island nation of Vanuatu, securing alternate passports under new names. Armed with these passports, they could slip across borders with ease once they fled. Investigators later uncovered an illicit travel itinerary across multiple countries. In the weeks after Africrypt's shutdown, the Kajis left South Africa and hopped between locations in the Middle East and Europe. They surfaced in places like Dubai and eventually in the financial hubs of Europe. All the while, law enforcement and private sleuths chased down leads. Back home, the brothers communicated only through their attorneys. In statements issued via a lawyer, they denied any wrongdoing, insisting that Africrypt truly had been hacked by unknown criminals. Their attorney also claimed that the eye-popping $3.6 billion figure was overblown and had no foundation in reality. Indeed, later analysis suggested the actual amount investors lost was closer to $50 million, not billions. Still, to the defrauded clients, that distinction meant little. Their money was gone, and the culprits remained at large. Then came a breakthrough. In November 2021, Amir Kaji was arrested in Zurich, Switzerland. Acting on a tip about suspicious transactions, Swiss authorities detained Amir when he attempted to access a safety deposit box he and his brother had rented in Zurich. Inside, investigators found hardware wallets containing a portion of Africrypt's missing cryptocurrency. Swiss police seized these assets and held Amir on suspicion of money laundering. It was a dramatic turn. For the first time since their disappearance, one of the fugitive brothers was in custody. Rais Kaji, meanwhile, was nowhere to be found. Presumably, he was elsewhere and evaded capture when Swiss police moved in. Amir spent about 6 months in a Swiss detention facility as the investigation in Zurich progressed. The court froze his South African and Vanuatu passports and imposed strict conditions to prevent any escape. He was later released on bail of 300,000 Swiss francs under house arrest forbidden from leaving Switzerland while the probe continued. For Africrypt's victims, news of Amir's arrest offered a glimmer of hope that justice might finally be at hand. Some of the missing funds were now in custody, and a key player was facing the law. But the saga was not over yet. While Amir sat in custody in Switzerland, a development unfolded back in South Africa. In late 2021, as investors fought to recover their money, a mysterious proposal emerged. An anonymous benefactor offered $5 million to reimburse Africrypt's victims on condition that all legal action against the Kajee brothers be dropped. The offer was tempting, a chance for swindled clients to recoup a fraction of their losses without protracted court battles. By September 2022, many investors agreed to the deal, and the settlement was finalized. Lawsuits were withdrawn and liquidation proceedings were halted. Only later did a whistleblower reveal the truth. The so-called anonymous investor behind the $5 million settlement was none other than the Kajee brothers themselves. According to this insider, Reis and Amir had secretly raised that payout by promising a new group of people massive investment returns, essentially running a second mini Ponzi scheme, then diverting that money to pay off their original victims. In doing so, the brothers bought their freedom by effectively silencing those they defrauded. With investors formally retracting their accusations, authorities suddenly had little to prosecute. In Switzerland, Amir's lawyers pointed to the settlement as reason to end his detention, arguing that with complaints dropped, there was no active harm to pursue. Swiss prosecutors disagreed, noting that a private deal did not prove innocence. Still, the development played in the brothers' favor. Ultimately, Swiss courts agreed to release Amir Kajee. By mid-2023, his passports were returned and travel restrictions lifted. He promptly left Switzerland and slipped out of legal reach once again. In the end, both Amir and Reis Kajee regained their freedom. Through legal maneuvering and paid off stakeholders, the brothers managed to walk away from the Africrypt saga without ever facing trial. South African officials quietly confirmed that all investigations into Africrypt had somehow been closed or dropped. Having settled with their victims and with no criminal charges pending at home, the Kajees disappeared once more into the shadows. The bulk of the stolen cryptocurrency was never recovered. Aside from the portion seized in Zurich, the rest remains untraceable on the blockchain, presumably still under the brothers' control. Two young men, barely in their 20s, had apparently pulled off a multi-million-dollar crypto heist and gotten away with it. The Africrypt saga shocked the cryptocurrency world and starkly exposed the dark side of an unregulated market. In South Africa, it was a wake-up call. Financial authorities moved to tighten the rules. By October 2022, barely a year after the Africrypt scandal, the FSCA officially declared crypto assets to be regulated financial products, aiming to protect consumers and prevent future abuses. The case became a catalyst for broader debates on cryptocurrency oversight, cited by regulators around the globe as a prime example of the risks posed by the Wild West of crypto finance. For the thousands who lost money, the impact was devastating. Some had poured their life savings into Africrypt's scheme, only to see it vanish. Many would never fully recover financially or emotionally from the betrayal. Trust in cryptocurrency ventures, especially in South Africa, was badly shaken. Legitimate crypto businesses in the region faced increased scrutiny, and new investors grew warier of any promise of guaranteed high returns. Internationally, the story of Amir and Reis Kajee became a cautionary tale. The sheer audacity of two young men orchestrating a multi-million-dollar digital heist and evading the law captured public imagination. The Africrypt case underscored how easily vast wealth could be amassed and stolen in the new era of digital finance, especially when regulatory oversight was absent. As of the latest reports, the Kajee brothers remain at large, free men living under the radar, perhaps enjoying the spoils of their scheme. A multinational investigation into their activities technically remains open, particularly in Switzerland, but with no new leads, it has gone cold. No arrests or charges have been brought against them in South Africa. The Africrypt affair has passed into history as an almost unbelievable chapter in financial crime. In retrospect, the rise and fall of Africrypt reads like a Hollywood thriller. Gifted young founders, boundless ambition, deceit at the highest levels, a sudden disappearance, and an escape from justice. Yet it all really happened. The Africrypt heist demonstrated the perilous intersection of human greed and technological opportunity. It left behind ruined investors, humbled regulators, and two infamous brothers who, for now, got away. Their $4 billion Bitcoin saga will be remembered as one of the crypto world's most notorious scandals, a stark reminder of both the promise and the peril in the digital gold rush. You've just experienced another gripping deep dive from our channel, your gateway to the hidden, high-stakes world of finance and digital intrigue. Like, share, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of what we'll uncover together.